There's a strange and powerful moment in life that almost everyone who achieves something great experiences at the moment, right before the breakthrough. It's not a moment of glory, nor a moment of peace. In fact, it often feels like the complete opposite: confusion, exhaustion, and a deep sense that things are falling apart. But according to Stoic philosophy, this is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're closer than ever to transformation. The Stoics understood that before anything rises, it must first be tested. Before strength appears, weakness must be confronted. Before a mind finds clarity, it must first walk through the fog of doubt. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This is the essence of the final stage before a breakthrough, the point where life seems to challenge you the hardest, precisely because you are ready to rise to a new level. Let's break this down through the Stoic lens. When you're approaching a breakthrough, whether it's in your mindset, your career, your personal growth, or your inner peace, you often feel like everything is collapsing. Your patience runs out, your motivation fades, old wounds resurface. You question whether all your effort has meant anything. But this chaos is not a punishment. It's the final test of your endurance and clarity. The Stoics believed that when you start aligning your life with virtue, reason, and discipline, the world around you begins to resist. Not because it's cruel, but because growth demands pressure. Think of a seed breaking open in the soil. From the outside, it looks like destruction. The shell splits. The seed disintegrates. But from within, new life is forming. The same process happens in you before a breakthrough. Your old patterns, habits, and self-doubt begin to crack. It's uncomfortable, even painful, but it's necessary for something higher to emerge. Seneca wrote that fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave. In this final stage, your resilience is being refined. You are being stripped of illusions, of the need for external validation, of the fantasy that growth should be easy, of the belief that you are entitled to instant results. This stage humbles you. It pushes you to let go of control and surrender to the process. It demands faith and not blind optimism, but a calm conviction that everything you are facing is shaping you into who you must become. The Stoics would tell you to stop resisting this phase. Instead, observe it. Feel the discomfort, but don't identify with it. See it as a signal, the pain of transformation, not the pain of destruction. When you hit emotional exhaustion, when your plans seem to fail repeatedly, when silence replaces progress, remember, the universe is clearing the space for a new version of you to emerge. It's often right before the dawn that the night feels darkest. That's why most people quit during this phase. They misinterpret the struggle as a sign that they are moving backward, when in truth they are at the threshold of change. The Stoic mindset is to endure, to hold your composure, and to maintain inner stillness while chaos surrounds you. Because those who can remain grounded when everything shakes are the ones who are ready for what comes next. This phase also reveals your relationship with patience. Stoicism teaches that real strength is not in taking immediate action, but in waiting with discipline. It's in trusting the timing of nature, understanding that no flower blooms before its season. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that things take time, and nothing happens contrary to nature. So if you are in this dark, uncertain period, the place between giving up and breaking through, remember that this is part of the natural order. The seed doesn't rush its growth. It simply endures the soil. One of the most powerful Stoic practices during this phase is amor fati, the love of fate. It's the idea of embracing everything that happens, even the struggle, as necessary. You don't just tolerate the obstacles, you learn to love them, because they are the forge of your transformation. Every setback is a tool. Every delay a teacher, every hardship a mirror showing you what must be strengthened. So if you feel like life has backed you into a corner, like your energy is fading and your purpose feels distant, pause and reflect. You are not losing, you are being molded. The fire you are in is refining you for what's next. The Stoics wouldn't tell you to stay positive. They would tell you to stay present, to breathe through the discomfort, to remember that nothing worth becoming comes without being broken open first. You are not falling apart. You are falling into alignment. What's collapsing is not your life, it's your old self. The one that cannot carry the next version of your destiny. The one that doubts, that fears, that hesitates. So endure this stage with dignity. Let it burn away what's no longer needed. Keep your eyes on your principles, your actions rooted in discipline, and your heart anchored in acceptance. Because when the storm passes, and it will, you'll realize that the darkness wasn't blocking your breakthrough. It was the breakthrough. This is the final stage, not of your ending, but of your becoming. When you're approaching a major breakthrough, the first and most obvious sign is this: everything around you seems to fall apart at once. Your plans fail, your motivation fades, relationships get tested, and even simple things start going wrong. It's as if life itself is conspiring against you. But from the Stoic perspective, this chaos isn't a sign of failure. It's a sign of transformation. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." What feels like collapse is often the destruction of the old structures that no longer serve you. The Stoics believe that before something new and stronger can emerge, the weak parts of your life, your habits, attachments, and illusions must break. And because humans resist change by nature, this breakdown feels painful. But in reality, it's necessary. Think about a blacksmith forging a sword. Before the metal becomes sharp and unbreakable, it must go through fire, be hammered, bent, and reshaped repeatedly. That's what's happening to you when your life feels chaotic. The pressure is refining you. The confusion is clarifying you. The struggle is teaching you what truly matters. When you feel like you're losing everything, you're actually losing everything that isn't you. The Stoics would remind you that external things, success, comfort, reputation, are temporary and not within your full control. What matters is how you respond to their loss. This is the true test of your inner citadel, the fortress of your mind that no storm can destroy. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." When life starts taking away what you've been depending on, it's not punishing you, it's preparing you to stand on your own. Maybe your job ends, your plans fail, or people walk away. It hurts deeply, but this loss is carving space for independence, for a more grounded version of you to emerge, one that no longer seeks strength from outside validation. The Stoic approach during this phase is detachment, not emotional numbness, but mental clarity. You begin to see that what's crumbling is simply what was never stable to begin with. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from the things that happen to us, but from our judgments about them. So instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and the Stoic mind asks, "What is this teaching me?" This shift in perspective turns chaos into wisdom. Suddenly the pain has purpose, the fear becomes fuel, every ending becomes an opening. Here's a truth few people realize: before you rise, you must be emptied. A full cup cannot be filled again. The same goes for your life. If you're full of fear, attachments, and false expectations, there's no room for growth. That's why life begins to take things away before a breakthrough. It's clearing the clutter so you can receive what's next. Imagine a caterpillar before it becomes a butterfly. Inside the cocoon, it literally dissolves into liquid. Its old form dies completely before the new one is born. From the outside, that stage looks like death, nothing moving. No progress visible, but inside transformation is taking place. The Stoics would say the same about your breakdowns. The stillness and loss are not the end, but the necessary silence before rebirth. When everything seems to fall apart, most people panic. They fight against change, they cling to the familiar, and they drown in fear. But the Stoic path is different. It invites you to stand still in the storm, to breathe, to observe the destruction without losing your composure. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." You see, chaos doesn't destroy you. Resistance to chaos does. When you let go of the need to control every outcome, you start flowing with life instead of fighting it. You realize that what's leaving your life was never truly yours to keep, and what's meant for you can never be lost. The calm acceptance, amor fati, the love of fate, is what turns breakdowns into breakthroughs. During this stage, your emotions will fluctuate wildly. You may feel lost, frustrated, or even hopeless. That's normal. But the Stoic mindset tells you to endure with reason, to stay anchored to your values and courage, discipline, justice, and wisdom, even when everything else feels unstable. That's how you build true strength, not in easy moments, but in moments of collapse. Remember this: when you are at your lowest, life is not rejecting you. It is refining you. The discomfort you feel is the friction of your old self dying and your new self being born. If you can endure this phase without bitterness, If you can look at your crumbling world and still choose gratitude and composure, then you have already passed the test that most people fail. So when everything feels like it's falling apart, stop running. Stand still. Breathe deeply. Observe without panic. The Stoics believe that every obstacle hides an opportunity, and every ending is a doorway. You are not being destroyed, no, you are being stripped of what's no longer aligned with your next level. As you move closer to your breakthrough, another unmistakable sign begins to appear. You start losing people, comfort, and the sense of certainty that once gave you stability. The Stoics would say this is not a tragedy but a purification. Before the new chapter of your life begins, life often clears out what can't come with you. The people, habits, and environments that once felt familiar suddenly feel distant or incompatible. It's unsettling but necessary. Epictetus once said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That line captures the essence of this stage. When you start growing, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, the world around you doesn't always understand. Some people begin to drift away. Others may even criticize or resist your change. Your comfort zones no longer satisfy you. Your old routines lose meaning, and your mind starts craving something deeper. This is the soul's way of signaling that you've outgrown what once fit. From the Stoic perspective, loss is not a punishment but a form of alignment. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The things ordained for you would teach yourself to love them, and the things not meant for you, let them go freely." The universe, or fate as the Stoics called it, has a way of removing anything that would hold you back from your higher potential. This includes people, jobs, relationships, and even your old identity. You might notice yourself feeling lonely during this time. You may miss the comfort of belonging, of being understood, of knowing what tomorrow looks like. But solitude to a Stoic is not a curse, it's sacred. It's the space where the soul strengthens and rediscovers itself. Seneca described solitude as the training ground of the mind, where distractions fade and clarity begins to emerge. This stage can feel emotionally painful because you start realizing that much of what you thought was you, your social circles, habits, even your goals, grants were actually borrowed from others. You may look around and feel disconnected, uncertain of who you are becoming, but that confusion is proof that transformation is happening. You are shedding borrowed identities and returning to your authentic core. The Stoics would encourage you to accept this loss with dignity. Instead of resisting change, they would say, flow with it. When something leaves your life, trust that it has served its purpose. Even painful goodbyes carry hidden gifts, lessons, wisdom, and freedom. The Stoic practice of amor fati, love of fate, is your compass here. To love fate means not merely to accept what happens, but to embrace it wholeheartedly, believing that every event is working in your favor, even if it doesn't feel that way yet. Let's take a closer look at what this stage often looks like. You might lose people who no longer resonate with your values. Perhaps you're developing discipline, self-awareness, or integrity, and those who prefer comfort or drama can't understand your shift. They may label you as distant or different. The Stoics would tell you not to chase approval. As Epictetus reminded his students, if you want to improve, be willing to be laughed at. Growth often requires walking alone for a while. You might lose comfort, the predictable patterns and safe routines that once made you feel secure. Suddenly staying in your comfort zone feels suffocating. You start feeling restless, drawn toward something uncertain but meaningful. That discomfort is your spirit's rebellion against stagnation. The Stoics viewed discomfort as a teacher, not an enemy. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." The loss of comfort sharpens your mind, preparing you to live with courage instead of fear. And finally, you lose certainty, the illusion that you can control how everything turns out. The Stoics spent their lives training to release this illusion. They divided life into two domains: what you can control, your thoughts, actions, and reactions, and what you cannot, everything else. Losing certainty forces you to focus on what truly belongs to you, your character. Once you stop demanding that life be predictable, you discover a deeper peace, the kind that chaos can't touch. In this phase, your mind may resist, whispering, "Why is everything and everyone leaving me?" But the Stoic answer would be simple: because you're evolving. Because your energy, mindset, and purpose no longer align with what's being removed. It's not loss, it's refinement. The people who are meant for your next chapter will find you when you're ready for them. Until then, solitude will strengthen you in ways company never could. This is where you start standing alone, and in that solitude you discover power. You stop looking for validation. You stop depending on external comfort. You stop needing constant reassurance. You begin to trust yourself, to move forward guided by reason instead of fear. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful than your own soul." That is the essence of this sign, a learning to find peace within, even as the world around you changes. As you approach the final stage before a breakthrough, one of the most confusing yet powerful experiences you'll encounter is a deep sense of disconnection from people, from the world, even from your old self. On the surface, it feels like loneliness or emotional detachment. But beneath it lies something extraordinary: awareness. This paradox, feeling disconnected from everything but more connected to truth, is a clear sign that you're awakening to a higher level of understanding. The Stoics would recognize this as a vital phase in personal evolution. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere you can go is more peaceful than your own soul." When you begin to detach from the noise of the world, your mind turns inward. You start observing your emotions instead of being controlled by them. You stop chasing validation and begin valuing silence. The same isolation that once felt painful becomes your sanctuary. At first, this disconnection can be unsettling. You may no longer relate to the conversations or priorities of people around you. Things that once entertained or distracted you now seem hollow. You might feel like you're living in two worlds: in the external, one that keeps demanding your attention, and the internal one that's quietly awakening. The Stoics called this process oikeiosis, the alignment of the soul with nature and reason. It's a slow but irreversible shift from reacting to reflecting, from seeking comfort to seeking truth. During this time, solitude becomes sacred. Seneca described solitude not as a withdrawal from life, but as a return to oneself. He said, "I never am less alone than when I am by myself." This line captures the essence of the Stoic path, that true strength and peace are found not in company but in inner harmony. When you reach this point, you begin to see how much of your old life was built on distraction, noise, comparison, and attachment. Now you crave stillness, simplicity, and authenticity. However, the transition isn't easy. Your mind may still resist, whispering that something is wrong with you because you no longer feel attached to what others care about. But the Stoics would remind you that detachment isn't coldness, in its clarity. It's not about rejecting the world, but seeing it as it truly is. Epictetus taught that our suffering comes not from events themselves, but from how we perceive them. When you detach, you stop assigning unnecessary meaning to temporary things. You start seeing life through the lens of acceptance instead of expectation. This is the stage where emotional maturity deepens. You become aware of how often people chase happiness through external means: money, approval, recognition, and realize that those things can't fill the emptiness inside. You begin to understand that peace is not something to be found. It's something to be practiced. Every moment you choose whether to react with emotion or to respond with wisdom. Disconnection is also the stage of purification. Your mind begins to filter out unnecessary desires, opinions, and fears. You start questioning everything you once accepted: your routines, beliefs, even your definition of success. The Stoics viewed this questioning as a crucial part of becoming philosophical, not in the academic sense, but in the practical, lived sense. Philosophy to them was a way of living, not talking. And in this stage, your awareness becomes your greatest teacher. Many people misinterpret this period as depression or loss of direction. In reality, it's the shedding of illusions. You're no longer addicted to constant stimulation. You're learning to be still. You're learning to live without needing every answer right away. Marcus Aurelius urged himself daily: withdraw into yourself. The rational principle which rules has this nature, that it is content with itself when it does what is just and speaks truth. This inner withdrawal is the hallmark of the Stoic awakening. In this phase, you also start noticing synchronicities, subtle signs or patterns that seem to guide you. You feel more intuitive, more sensitive to the energy around you. It's as if you've tuned into a different frequency, one of truth, simplicity, and peace. The Stoics wouldn't call it mystical. They'd call it alignment with logos, the natural order of reason that governs everything. When your mind quiets down, You begin to sense that order more clearly. The price of this awareness, however, is detachment from the old world. You may feel misunderstood by others who haven't reached this stage. They might say you've changed, and they'd be right. You're no longer driven by ego or external pressure. You're guided by principle and peace. And while this solitude can feel isolating, it's the exact solitude needed to give birth to a new level of consciousness. If you're in this stage, don't rush it. The Stoics believe that inner growth happens naturally, like a tree growing toward the sun. You don't need to force it, just nurture it. Read, reflect, write, observe, spend time in silence. Let your awareness expand without demanding that everything makes sense, because it will make sense, just not immediately. This is the stage where you stop running after the world and the world begins to chase you. People will start noticing your calm energy, your composure, your quiet confidence. You'll stop seeking validation, because your validation will come from living in truth. There comes a quiet moment, often after the chaos, the loss, and the loneliness, when something inside you shifts. You stop fighting. You stop forcing. You stop demanding answers from life. And even though things still don't make sense, you feel an unexpected calm. That peace doesn't come from external stability. It comes from inner surrender. This is the final sign that you're on the edge of a breakthrough. The Stoics called this state ataraxia, a deep tranquility of the soul that remains unshaken, no matter what happens. It's not about apathy or indifference. It's about clarity and acceptance. You stop trying to control every outcome and begin to trust the rhythm of life. As Marcus Aurelius said, accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny, for what could more aptly fit your needs. In this stage, the storms around you don't stop, but they stop defining you. You can look at confusion, loss, or uncertainty without losing your composure. You might not know how things will work out, but you begin to trust that they will. You no longer need to predict the path. You just focus on walking it with grace. This calmness feels different from anything you've known before. It's not the forced positivity that tries to deny pain. It's the kind of peace that comes from making peace with pain. You start realizing that life doesn't need to be perfect to be beautiful. It only needs to be accepted as it is. That realization is what sets your mind free. The Stoics believe that our suffering comes from wanting reality to be different than it is. The moment you release that resistance, you reclaim your power. You stop asking, "Why me?" and start saying, "Teach me." Every obstacle becomes an instructor, every delay a teacher, every hardship a lesson. This is when you finally understand what Marcus meant by, "The obstacle is the way." In this phase, your emotions stabilize. Things that once triggered you no longer have the same effect. You begin to notice your reactions in real time, as if your awareness has stepped outside of your thoughts. This is not detachment in a cold sense, it's mastery. You're not suppressing emotions, you're understanding them. You feel deeply, but you no longer drown in what you feel. This calm also changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing. You realize that everything unfolds exactly when it's meant to. The Stoics lived with a profound respect for timing, the idea that nature never hurries yet. Everything is accomplished. When you stop fighting time, you align with it. You begin to sense that life is not happening to you, but through you. You'll also notice that this peace makes you stronger, not weaker. You become more patient, more observant, more grounded. Your focus sharpens. You're no longer pulled in every direction by fear or desire. You start acting with intention instead of impulse. This is what the Stoics called living according to nature, aligning your actions with wisdom, discipline, and virtue rather than with emotion. Externally, people might still misunderstand you. They might see your calmness as detachment or indifference. But internally, you know that your peace isn't a lack of care. It's the presence of perspective. You care deeply, but you've learned that anxiety doesn't improve outcomes. You've replaced reaction with response. That's real strength. Seneca wrote, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he has not." This acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving for better things. It means you stop depending on them for your peace. You learn to enjoy progress while remaining unmoved by setbacks. This emotional balance is what makes breakthrough sustainable. The calm before the breakthrough is not silence born of defeat, it's silence born of understanding. You start recognizing that life's challenges were never meant to destroy you, only to awaken you. Every hardship you faced, the failures, the rejections, the loneliness was refining your character, polishing your strength. preparing your heart to handle the success and purpose that's coming next. This is the point where your inner and outer worlds begin to align. Your thoughts slow down, your actions become deliberate, and your faith in the process deepens. You no longer chase and you attract. You no longer beg life to go your way. You walk with it, trusting that the path is unfolding exactly as it should. When you reach this level of calmness, you've crossed a spiritual threshold. You're no longer waiting for the breakthrough. You are the breakthrough. The change isn't happening outside you, it's happening within. And once inner transformation takes place, external transformation inevitably follows. So if you find yourself strangely calm in the middle of confusion, if your mind is peaceful even though your life isn't perfect, understand this. You've reached the final stage. The universe isn't testing you anymore. It's aligning you. The door that once seemed locked is about to open, not because you forced it, but because you became the kind of person who no longer needs to.